Iowa. This accident happened yesterday morning in Rudd. The Iowa State Patrol says the driver of the truck, 73-year-old Gary Eilers of Waterloo, did not yield at a sign at the railroad tracks. The truck hit the train and was then dragged for about 3 blocks. The passenger of the truck, 32-year-old Brian Leckness, who's also from Waterloo, was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities say the men were not wearing their seatbelts. Eilers was taken to St. Mary's Hospital in Rochester. Well, in light of horrific train collisions all over the area, a debate has sparked over the safety of railroad crossings in rural areas. KIMT News 3's Levi Ismail is taking a closer look at the safety concerns surrounding the tracks.
No matter your experience, there's always an element of risk when getting behind the wheel. But at railroad crossings, those risks are made even more dangerous if you're not paying attention.
They have to pay attention to the signs and signals that are out there. Because obviously when you tangle with the train, well, most of the time you don't win.
In many rural towns throughout the country, railroad crossings usually have a sign, but that's about it. So if you're not paying attention, you could be putting yourself or your family in danger.
Basically, it comes down to their responsibility, looking at the advanced warning signs. At night, you don't know if there's a train up there. You can't tell if one's coming during the day, so every driver should just be prepared to, slow down and be prepared to stop.
But ironically, these areas are not the ones that are seeing the most accidents. A new study from Operation Lifesaver shows that almost half of the collisions between trains and vehicles occur at crossings fully equipped with active warning devices. And according to one local man, in those situations, responsibility should rest with the driver.
From what I understand, they were going fast and they didn't even stop to even see if a train was coming. And I was certain you could hear a train coming. If it didn't have the signs, if there's traffic, at least slow down.
If people are driving like they should, whether it's a gated crossing or just lights at a crossing or a crossbuck, every driver should be preparing to stop when it comes to railroad crossing. Like I said, look, listen, and live.
In Mason City, Levi Ismail, KIMT News 3.
According to the 2012 study conducted by the Federal Railroad Administration, you are 20 times more likely to die in a collision with a train than in a collision with another motor vehicle. Well, we are going to turn now to weather. We're going to check in with meteorologist Tyler Roney in the Storm Team 3 Forecast Center. And hopefully, Tyler has some good news for us if it's going to warm up at all. We're spring, right?
Right. Well, I think we'll better start with the bad news first, right? I suppose. Why not, right? But we do have rain on the way. It's still falling right now as we speak. We had some earlier on, and more is back in the area. On our Storm Tracker Doppler radar, still some scattered showers out and about, even a few rumbles of thunder at times, but more rain's on the way beyond this even. On our Albert Lee, live eye in the sky, light rain continuing to fall after a decent day overall after we got a little bit of afternoon clearing and saw some sunshine. Here's our week ahead weather headlines for this upcoming week. Rain for Monday. That's going to be changing to snow. There's the bad news. So we'll have a cold start to the week, but then there are more 60-degree days ahead, maybe more than one. We'll talk all about these fun details in just a few moments.
Well, that is what I like to hear.
Finally.
All right. Thanks so much, Tyler. Well, people in and around Boston are preparing for the funerals for the victims of the Boston Marathon bombings. Police are looking for a motive and say there may have been a second attack planned. Adriana Diaz is in Boston with the latest.
CBS News confirms 19-year-old Johar Tsarnaev, the surviving suspect in the Boston Marathon bombings, is awake. Sources say he's responding to investigators' questions in writing. He hasn't been able to talk because of a gunshot wound to his neck that may have been self-inflicted. Police captured Johar in a boat in a Watertown backyard. His older brother Tamerlan died in a shootout hours earlier. Police say Johar and Tamerlan planted the bombs. Investigators say the two had more devices, possibly for a second attack. A special interrogation team is here at Boston's Beth Israel Medical Center to try to determine a motive. Investigators are combing through the brothers' past. In 2011, the FBI questioned Tamerlan about possible ties to radical Islam. Now police want to know why he went to Russia 6 months ago. His father says he was visiting family. People in Boston gathered for prayer Sunday. Cardinal Sean O'Malley preached about tolerance.
The crimes of the two young men must not be the justification for prejudice against Muslims or against immigrants.
Mourners are beginning to say goodbye to the victims. Hundreds lined up in Medford, Massachusetts for 29-year-old Crystal Campbell's wake. She was known for her big smile and love of family.
It's just terrible that there's people that would, show such little respect for life.
Prosecutors are expected to file charges against Johar early this week. Adriana Diaz, CBS News, Boston.
Massachusetts governor has asked people in his state to mark 1 minute of silence tomorrow at 2:50, the time of the explosion. The community of West Texas is mourning the loss of life and the devastation caused by a deadly fertilizer plant explosion that nearly obliterated a small town. This is the aftermath of Wednesday's fertilizer plant explosion, a blast so powerful it tore off the walls and roof of this neighboring apartment complex, throwing mattresses and personal items around. At least 14 people were killed and more than 200 others injured when a fire at West Fertilizer led to an explosion. Most of those who perished were first responders. Authorities still don't know what caused it.
Our priority today is the line of duty death investigation for the firefighters and first responders who lost their lives in this incident.
At least one congressman and several safety experts are calling into question whether or not West Fertilizer may have ignored safety regulations. Authorities confirmed that 5 snowboarders died after getting caught in an avalanche near Loveland Pass, Colorado yesterday. The Clear Lake County Sheriff said that one man did survive after he was able to dig himself out and call for help. According to deputies, a group of 6 snowboarders left the top of Loveland Pass yesterday morning and triggered an avalanche at about 1 p.m. All of the snowboarders were wearing proper equipment, including avalanche beacons. The 5 who died were identified today. The U.S. military says just over half of their prisoners at Guantanamo Bay are on a hunger strike. A military spokesman says 84 prisoners have been classified as hunger strikers at the U.S. military base in Cuba. Prison leaders say 16 of the 84 prisoners are being force-fed and 5 have been hospitalized. Prisoners have been on a hunger strike since early February to protest conditions and their indefinite confinement. The U.S. holds 166 men at the prison, most without charge. And protesters are demanding tougher laws to protect women in India. The kidnapping and alleged brutal rape of a 5-year-old girl sparked this latest outcry. A suspect is under arrest and the girl is recovering in a hospital. A news agency in South Korea is reporting that the North has moved 2 short-range missile launchers to its east coast. They say that action seems to point preparations for a test launch. The heightened tensions there are set to be the focus when a Chinese delegation heads to Washington this week. U.S. officials say Beijing has a vital role to play in calming the situation. Well, tomorrow is a day that's dedicated to our planet. Find out what Earth Day is all about. Plus, a museum in North Iowa is breaking out the champagne in celebration of its birthday. Next.
After practicing through rain, sleet,